Yo, 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 what is going on, you guys? It is another Tuesday. That means it's a new Right to Real Love live show. I'm Jay Immanuel, joined by my very lovely co host, Tatiana. And as y'all can see, two very, very special guests, my girl, Asia and Nia. What's going on, ladies? How you guys doing tonight?
Hello, everybody.
We're doing good. So
Yes.
excited.
Oh, man, I'm excited to have you guys on here. So, everybody's familiar with Tatiana and Asia. Nia, tell the people a little bit about you. What do you do? And what are you looking forward to on tonight's live show?
Okay, so my name is Mia. I'm a teacher by day, but I'm also an entrepreneur and an author. And I founded a nonprofit where I work with girls ages 7 to 16 on self esteem and confidence. So I also have some books out, about our Christian walk and some of the self help stuff I've learned through my faith. And I'm just walking this thing out, living my purpose, living for God. And I'm excited to talk tonight about the weight. I know it's a hot topic right now, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah, this topic definitely has some sizzle on it, and I'm definitely looking forward to diving into it with you guys. And I just got to let y'all know, man. Once again, the love and support has been coming in for the live show, and as you guys know, I think over the past two, maybe three shows, we've been sponsored. And tonight we had a new sponsor, so
Oh,
I got to
snap.
give a huge, huge shout out to Tiffany. Y'all see her when she's in the chat, and today she decided to sponsor tonight's live show. So I want to give a huge, huge shout out to Tiffany. Thank you so much for your
Thank you,
support of the
Tiffany.
show and being tonight's
That's
sponsor. I
awesome.
really appreciate that more than you know. And as y'all know, we always like to open up with a little bit of icebreaker. So I'm changing things up this week.
Hmm.
Usually we do an icebreaker that's related to the topic, but I want to switch it up and do something that I'm going to call three random questions. So tonight I got three random questions that I want to toss out for each of you ladies to answer to kind of see what you guys think. So since you are on here for the first time, Nia, I'm gonna give you the opportunity. Do you want to start with question one, two, or three? Nia, I'm gonna give you. Oh, I think there's a little lag. Can you hear me, Nia?
Two.
Okay, cool, cool. Question two. So for the ladies, I want to know what food or snack is your guilty pleasure? Oh, I see y'all. I see y'all all made that face. Who wants to go first? What's your guilty pleasure
Mm,
food or snack?
I can go first. It's
Okay.
definitely candy. I like sweets.
What kind of candy was that you just put up?
These are some fruit snacks, but I love sour candy. Pretty much any sour fruit. I love lemons. That's my favorite fruit because it has so many amazing things that it could do. But I can eat lemon just straight up with the slices. So good. I'm mouth
Oh
watering
man, you
right now.
definitely got that sour palate going.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love it. What about you, AJ?
So I definitely have too. When I'm not on my healthy kit, I love to go to Aldi's in the bakery and get these cinnamon rolls that are already made. It
Ooh,
is
I need to try
my
those.
guilty pleasure. And I ain't gonna say how quick I can eat them, but let me tell you, I put them in the microwave. I get my fork out. I plate it so nicely, and it is my guilty pleasure. I love it. And then when I'm eating healthy, trying to watch my weight, I love like the little Nutter Butters, the peanut butter.
Oh
They're not.
man, yes.
I just found out that they was cookies, but I'm gonna say they crackers. Crackers sound healthy. Crackers, peanut butter crackers. Those two on my thing for sure.
Nah,
Nice.
that's funny. That's the first time I think I've ever heard somebody try to call or justify a Nutter Butter being a cracker.
It's
Like
crackers.
that
It's
that's
crackers.
next level right there. Like I love me some Nutter Butters too, and I definitely have always recognized that it's surely a cookie because it's right there under them Oreos that I'll be grabbing for
You
too.
know, yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. What about you, Neil? What's your guilty pleasure food or snack?
I've been on my healthy kick too, but when I need a break, ice cream has to be
Mm,
ice cream. Any
what
flavor,
flavor?
I love it. I'm trying to do better with it. My favorite is cookies and cream.
Mm,
Mhm. So
Absolutely.
good. So good.
yes, cookies and cream is now I gotta ask you, are you particular on the type of brand that you eat?
Hmm.
Because I
Bluebell
know
all
some
the
people are.
way.
Some people like if it ain't Ben and Jerry's.
Hmm.
Hold on, can you say that again? I think I miss you.
Definitely Bluebell.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I ain't
Definitely
mad at
Bluebell.
Nice.
that. Yes. So let's go over to the chat. What's up? Our show sponsor is in the building. What's going on,
Hey,
Tiffany? So
Tiffany.
glad to have you here. Yes, we are so grateful for you and your support and the support that is always coming in for the show. We see Katrina is in the building. What is going on? And oh, she is very particular. Now, how do y'all pronounce this?
Ooh,
Is it Talenti? Is that how it is
that's how
pronounced?
I
Talenti
pronounce it
ice?
in my head.
That's
That's
how
how,
it's done.
if I'm wrong, y'all
I
definitely
think that's how you
correct
say
me.
it.
So the question is, Katrina, what's your flavor though? What flavor are you getting when we breaking out the Talenti ice cream? I
Because
need
they
to
have a
know.
lot. They have a lot
Yeah.
of
Have y'all
options.
had it before? I'll be honest, I've never had it, and she probably gonna throw some shade at me because of that.
I've seen it, but I haven't tried it yet.
All right, Nia, have you had it? No.
I
What flavor
have.
did
It's
you
pretty
like?
good.
Oh, okay. I
Okay,
need
you
some
have it.
recommendations.
Yeah,
It's
yo,
not.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Definitely give us some recommendations. Definitely. So look, we got Tanisha in the building. What's going on? So glad for you to join us. Always good to see you out here. Oh, and she choosing right now. She says Talenti raspberry cheesecake. So write that down, Tatiana. Write that one down. Cynthia is here. What's going on, Cynthia? So glad for you to join us. We truly. Oh yeah, look, y'all. That's what Katrina said too. The raspberry cheesecake. So yeah, I think that's the flavor that we got to go check out. I'm gonna try to do that before the end of the year for sure. And what's going on, JD? So glad to have you here. So glad for you to be joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. Oh, look, we got a new flavor. Add this one to the list too, Tatiana. Cynthia says Alfonso Mango from Talenti. These some different names though. Alfonso Mango. Is that like a different type of something? I ain't never heard of that. Alfonso out here with the mango tip. Cool. So yeah, we appreciate that. So Asia, between numbers 1 and 3, what's the next random question you want?
I'm gonna just go with number one.
Okay, number one. So here's question number one. What character from Living Single do you identify with the most?
That's a good question.
Wow.
I'm happy I seen the show because if I didn't, I would have lost my black card. I would have lost my black card. I'm gonna go with Khadijah. I'm gonna go with Khadijah.
Okay, so why Khadijah?
I'm gonna say because she was a journalist and that's what I went to school for, and she was very business oriented, very level headed. Uh, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with her. I think she the safest one for sure for me.
I ain't mad at that. Nia, what about you?
I was gonna say Khadijah, but you know what? Regine speaks to the bougie side of me, so I'm gonna go for Regine.
Yes, I
I
love it.
love that. I love that. Yo, I'm glad that you can admit it, right? Some people be like, nope, I know I'm Regine, but I'm not gonna tell nobody that publicly. What about you, Tatiana?
That was a fun question. You see the living single art in the back here.
Yes.
I'm definitely a Sinclair. I'm kind of
Okay.
goofy, so I love her character. She's so fun. Like all the characters are fun. Like I just love watching that show.
Yeah, that show is definitely a classic. I'll be honest though, I haven't seen every episode of that show. I'll probably need to go back and watch some. I'm
Hmm.
curious, do y'all have favorite episodes?
Ooh, that's a good question. Not off the bat that I can
Pretty
name.
good, especially
Yeah,
as an adult. Watching it as an adult now is different than growing up. So that was a great
definitely,
show.
definitely. Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. I remember when I first started, because my full disclosure, my favorite is Martin, like hands down. And like watching Martin when I was
Yes.
younger is a totally different experience than watching it now. And it's just like, yeah, Martin, that's some interesting, especially knowing what I know about relationships. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
some toxicity going on here between you and Gina and the dynamics of this
Louis.
relationship. So nah, that's real. Let's
You
see,
know what
chat.
show I
Which
feel
character?
that way about
Hold on,
now?
say that.
I was gonna say, you know what show that I feel that way about now, and
What's
I'm
that?
pretty sure the ladies can agree. Girlfriends.
Yes.
Girlfriends as a kid, my mom used to watch. I always thought it was boring, and recently, maybe like a couple of months ago, I
Yeah.
binged Girlfriends. I'm like, oh, they Girlfriends is
They
different. I'm
were
like, I was playing this on TV. Girlfriends is something for sure, and you definitely understand it way more as an adult than when you were a kid.
right. Girlfriends walk so
Yeah.
Insecure could run. Okay. Shout out to Insecure.
Absolutely.
Yo, I like the way you put that.
Good one.
That's good. That's good. So let's see what the chat is saying. Katrina says Maxine was her fave. Love
She
her
had
for show,
jokes.
for show. What's up, Ebony? Welcome to the
Hey,
stream. So glad for you to join
Ebony.
us tonight. She says she loved Maxine as well. Yes, yes. And then we have cute. Nah, y'all got to help me out with this. How do y'all think that's pronounced? Is that Ketawee
Ketway?
5?
Ketway? I don't know.
Ketway? Y'all got to help me out. I think that's how it's pronounced. Shout out to you. We glad you joined us. And forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but they say Maxine for sure. For sure. So, look, my girl Nicole is here. What is going on, Nicole? Welcome to the stream. So glad you could join us. She says
Hey,
Khadijah. So there y'all go. We got another Khadijah in the building. And what's up, Zan? So glad to have you with us. So glad you
what's
could join us on the
up?
stream. Definitely let us know. Okay, perfect. So Katiwe.
Oh,
Katiwe.
nice.
We
Beautiful.
appreciate that. Thank you for breaking down the enunciation. That means a lot. So we got one last random question before we get into tonight's show, and that is, what is one of your favorite or most memorable places to travel?
Hmm.
And let's start with you, Nia.
Um, my favorite place I've ever been is the Cayman Islands. It's just
It is.
beautiful and peaceful. There's just nothing like it. So that's my fave.
I love that. Asia, what about you?
I think I'm gonna go with it's between Jamaica or the Bahamas, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna just say the Bahamas. I'm gonna just say the Bahamas.
Okay, so why the Bahamas? Like, what is it about the islands? Because clearly you have a preference.
Yeah, I just think that I went with my family. It was a family trip, and I feel like I really like discovered what I wanted to do at that young age with my life.
Nice.
I was in the Bahamas, so I
I
think
love
that it's
that.
just a very memorable trip for me.
Yeah, it's meaning behind it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that definitely stands out. When you compare it to other places that you've been for sure. Yeah. What about you, Tatiana? You are um our in-house globe trotter. You're always over the place. So you've been so many places. Can you narrow it down
I know. You said most memorable?
or your
Or
favorite?
oh, okay. One of my favorites, I would say Barbados. Honestly, it's
Mm,
just a beautiful place. I know people kind of like go to other islands, but don't sleep on Barbados. Like it has its own unique culture and how they do food, and their beaches are beautiful.
mm. All right, cool. Yo, gotta add it to the list for sure. And Ebony says it's Tokyo, Japan. Yo, I've never
Japan
been
is on
there,
my
but I
list.
think that would be so dope.
That's on my bucket list for sure.
Yes. Ebony also says Caribbean and West Indies are beautiful. I agree. Yeah, I got to get there one day. I promise y'all, one of these days. And what's up, Nicole? So glad you're joining us for sure. For sure. Let's see. So here we go. Katiwe says Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe.
Wow,
Wow.
that's beautiful.
Wow. Yo, I'm gonna have to add that to the list. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely never been. And, I got to learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, that sounds dope. Sounds dope. Zan says, "You young people are so amazing. I have not been anywhere, but I'm going to change that soon. I got
Let's
to get my
go.
life." Yeah, yo,
That's right, Zan.
2022.
That's
Look,
right.
2022. Just make one trip. Add it to your list. Be like, yo, I'm going here. It don't
Yeah.
have to be international. You can start right here, national, somewhere in the states, and then
Yeah.
just build up the resume. Or
Hmm.
if we get on Tatiana's level, build up the passport. With the stamps and
I
everything.
I am
Styling
not
all this.
as well traveled. That's funny. That's funny, Jay.
I guess I'm speaking into existence then.
I'll click. Listen, I'll take it.
Yo, Nicole says Hawaii for her. Love that. Love that.
Nice.
Ebony says I need to go to the motherland. Yeah, I think
Same.
it's on the bucket list to go there at least
Hmm.
once, right? Have
Yeah.
any of you gone, Nia or Asia?
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to South Africa for sure.
Nice.
Ghana, Nigeria. Hmm.
Yeah, yo, adding them to the list for sure. Zen says exactly. My bucket list is to visit one attraction each state. Yeah, yeah, you should
You can
definitely do
do
that.
it. You can
Yeah.
do it, Zan.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yo. So this has been a fun little icebreaker before we get into tonight's main topic. And y'all already know what that is. Tonight, we're going to be talking about what happens when the wait does not work. So let's first start off with how you guys heard about the news about Devon Franklin filing from divorce or filing for divorce from his wife, Meagan Good. I found out about it last night, or no, last Tuesday during the show, right before we
Hmm.
was about to close out. It came up and I was like, man, I didn't even know. The news just hit me right there live on the spot. What about you guys? When did you hear about it?
Yeah, scrolling through social media.
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
expecting it.
How what about you, Asia? When did you hear about it?
I found out I think like through YouTube or something, and then I Googled it, and then I called like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm just like, "Oh wow!" I just YouTube, Google, let me call somebody to see what's up. That's kind of
Right.
how it went.
I love that. I love that. Yo, was Google like the place you had to verify that it's real?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Because I hate to see something like that, and I
Right.
think the YouTube videos are giving more commentary and like, their
Hmm.
opinions and stuff. I'm like, I gotta see what happened. Let me
Right.
let me go to some sources to see what's really going on. So yeah.
Facts. And what about you, Tatiana? Because you knew about it since last Tuesday.
Yeah, my friend sent it to me. I think they saw it on Shade Room, and then I was like, "What?" Yeah, that took me back because I wasn't expecting to see that at all from them.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what the chat has to say. So Nicole says her friend saw it on Twitter the night it happened. Okay, okay. Cynthia says she also found out last Tuesday when Tatiana announced it. Yeah, that was the first time I heard it. Zane says, honestly, I'm really hurt. You would think that they were my baby sis and
Oh.
bro. I got the book and everything. One
Mm-hmm.
of the first ones to buy it. I pray they work it out. Yeah, definitely,
Wow.
man. Definitely. And that's the thing, things can always change. I think a lot of times people speak in definitive terms, like just because somebody filed for divorce, that it means that it will actually happen.
Right.
I think we all know as believers that there's a redemptive
True.
a process out there that can occur. And, people can work through their differences if they are truly committed to doing so. And that's not to say that they already haven't. I mean, I would assume that they've tried. I don't think people just wake up and be like, I'm gonna file for divorce today. Like that would seem like something that
Right.
you would think out. But I just want to get each of your thoughts on like how it impacted you. What were your immediate thoughts, or even after the fact, since you've had time to process it, what do you feel about the news? Let's start with you, Asia.
I think it's sad. Before I started to call a friend and be like, "Girl, did you hear about?" I'm like, you know what, Lord, let me check my heart. Let me pray real quick, because at the end of the day, like, this is impactful to the body of Christ. This is impactful to people that are Christians, and also the world that looks at Christians to be an example. So that was my first reaction. Like, man, this can do some damage. This can go against people saying, "So you do all of that to wait, and look what happened." So it makes people like myself, I'm sure other women that are on here and tune in, we have to have more of an explanation now. So it puts us in, I don't want to say in a defense mode, but just we got to explain some things and say, like, hey, this may have happened to them, but God's word is still the same. They didn't do anything wrong with waiting. They did everything right. But just because you do everything right does not mean that the reward to that is a successful marriage. We're supposed to wait because that's what God says. And I think that if people focus on that and not look at the results of the marriage with two humans, I think that that would kind of, help. I think about it a lot. Let me get somebody else. I can keep going. I can.
Nah, you dropping gems early. I love that. Drop those golden nuggets. What about you, Nia? How you feel about it?
Yeah, I was sad when I saw it. I'm always sad to see, a couple not make it or file for divorce. And especially people who are in the public eye like that. I know it's a lot of pressure, to be this example. And they did kind of put themselves out there as an example with the book, with the movement and everything. But ultimately, we don't know why it happened. And I mean, what I saw after everybody started posting that they were getting a divorce is everybody trying to diagnose why. And I'm like,
Right.
listen, we don't know these people. We don't know these people. There's so many different elements that go into a relationship, not just the wait beforehand. And so we just kind of subscribe to them being this pedestal of a couple, and we don't know what was happening, behind closed doors. But prayerfully, it's something that, maybe they can work out. And if it's not something they can work out, then they can be an example in their singleness going forward. But yeah, it at first I was shocked and very sad.
Yeah, that's good. Before we come to you, Tatiana, just want to give a huge shout out to our chat. So Danielle is joining us. What's up, Danielle? So glad for you to join us tonight. Always a pleasure. And we got some laughs coming down the pipeline as we go further into this conversation. Zan says, yes, the blogs were saying it was possible because they were not posting each other and they were out alone. Okay, hold on. I think this is in reference to, where was it? She at first said that there was speculation about it a month before it happened, or for months. Like, I honestly didn't know that. Like, I'll be honest, y'all, I don't really kind of stay tapped into like pop culture, so I probably wouldn't know about it. But by all means, like, if y'all saying it's happening, yo, that's wild though. The fact that it actually was some relevance to those rumors. So let's see, we got a few more. All right. Katiwe says, I think it's sad and I feel for them. A marriage ending is never good news, but it wasn't impactful to me because I waited before them and have continued to wait after them. Yo, that's a gem. That's a gem. When the reason why you're doing it is for yourself and not because you're just trying to mimic or imitate somebody else, that is when you know you're doing it for the right reasons, right? I'm not saying that you can't be led to do something or motivated or inspired to do it because you see somebody else doing it, but it's always different when the decision is ultimately made because it's a decision you want to make as opposed to, just trying to do what everybody else is doing. So that's really good. Tiffany says, I learned about it last week just before the live show. I felt saddened because it was a negative mark on Christian singles trying to live better and do better. Yeah, that's real. Zen says, yeah, marriage is deep. No one truly knows but the couple and God. That's right. And she says, yes, she tried to ignore it. Nicole says, I'm still shocked and praying for them. That's right. Definitely got to lift them up in prayer, hoping they can heal and move on. I think they probably gave it their all. It just reiterates to me how much work marriage is. And that's fact. That is fact.
Mhm.
And Tanisha says, I've been hearing for months that they were separated. I heard about the official divorce or the filing the day it was announced. That's real. That's real. Yeah. So, Tatiana, what were your feelings?
I was definitely heavy hearted to hear that. I was like, what? Not Devon and Megan. Like,
Right.
you weren't expecting it. But like the other guests were saying in the comments, like we were seeing some signs of maybe something was going wrong in the last couple months. So for me personally, like I've been blogging for almost 10 years and I've been covering their marriage, some parts that have happened in their marriage, especially in the beginning, especially when Megan was being crucified by the church people. So I feel like I have a soft spot for them.
Yeah.
And I met both of them individually and together
Oh,
at
wow.
different points in my life. So I always thought that they were kind people, genuine. I didn't get anything weird from them. But so it was kind of heavy hearted to hear that. It is also discouraging to see so many people kind of like try to tear apart their marriage and like,
Right.
oh, you see this, like that doesn't work. And they were unequally yoked and saying all these awful things where we don't know the full story. We probably will never get the full context of what happened. But overall, that was my initial reaction. I was just kind
Right.
of heavy hearted. It's like, oh man, I wanted things to, work out for them. But, like Nicole said, like even in godly marriages, even in God ordained marriages where he puts those two people together, it's still going to be difficult. You're going to have difficult seasons. You're going to have to do the work. So who knows what happened there?
That's real. That's
I would
real.
like to add to what you said, Tatiana. I
Go
agree with
for it.
you. I felt that a lot of believers were giving me kind of Pharisee vibes in the sense of they were waiting for
Girl,
this to happen. So many people was like, the people that I spoke to, like, oh, girl, I ain't surprised. I'm like, well, I am because I was hoping that it would work. So many
right.
people were literally waiting for
Right.
their fall. And that's kind of like what a Pharisee was. It's not, they believe
Hmm.
in the word and all of that, but they waited to see Jesus stumble. They waited
Hmm.
around looking for every little thing to nitpick on. And I feel like that's kind of what Christian culture was doing. Not everyone, of course, but some of the things that I saw, people were waiting. Because when you say you're not surprised, that means that you had a preconceived notion about what was going to happen. So
Hmm.
I'm surprised. Everybody should be surprised. So it's just, I thought that was really
Absolutely.
interesting. People were literally waiting on this moment, consciously or subconsciously, for this to happen.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, that grieves my heart.
Yeah. You have to be really
Yeah.
careful with that. Yeah.
Nah, and that's the thing that I found to be so distasteful about it is because it was like people couldn't wait to, queue up their phone or
Seriously,
queue up their camera to just talk about it. And the few clips that I watched, it was just people just dragging them, just
they
just a bunch of
were.
negativity, a bunch of speculation, a bunch of rumors. And I feel like that's not right. And like y'all said, it does kind of give you some Pharisaic type vibes
Big
where
fair
people
too.
are, just looking at it as a way of throwing stones at them, essentially. And honestly, I think throwing stones at the community of faith as well, because they view it as not just Devon and Megan, but just the whole concept of the weight. and that whole concept of waiting before marriage to have sex. And it was like a prime opportunity for them to say, see, it doesn't work. What y'all saying is not logical. You guys shouldn't be doing this. And that's just one narrative. That's just one side of the story. And I always like
Mhm.
to look at things objectively. So yeah, glad you guys pointed that out. So let's see. Oh, what's going on? We got developing dad in the building. What's going on? So glad for you to join us. Appreciate it. Appreciate it for sure. Zan says those marriages in the body are even worse because of the constant
Ooh,
spiritual
Jesus.
warfare. Yo, that's real. That's real. Yeah, you got to fight to keep what you
Yeah.
have for sure. For
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Definitely.
And she says, I meant marriages in the body are attacked more. Yeah, yeah,
For
we definitely
sure.
understand that for sure, for sure. So Katiwe
Yeah.
says, I agree. People were speaking ill of them and automatically coming to Devon's defense. It was weird.
Whoa.
Just because someone wears a low cut V doesn't mean they don't have a relationship with Christ. Yeah, I mean, you can't make assumptions about where people stand spiritually, especially just judging by their appearances. Like,
Jay, literally, there were people saying that
Yeah.
Megan wasn't saved. I was like, where are you getting this from? How do you
wow,
know that?
Yeah.
That was it came it sounded so
Yep.
vindictive and I don't know, those big words. Were they just like, I was like, come on, y'all. Y'all don't know them. Y'all don't really
right.
know them. I don't know
Yeah,
them
Yeah.
either. But
It's interesting
it's
with social
yeah, to
media, people feel
question.
like they know people and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
not at all. Not at
And I
all. That's a
also
good
think
point,
that
Nia. Good point. Tiffany
people like,
says we should always wish for the best in others' lives. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Nicole says hashtag Pharisee vibes, shaking her head.
Okay.
Zan says exactly, Jay. People are having a field day with waiting. Yeah, they are. They are. So I have a question that I want to pose to you guys, and I want to know: do you think that it's fair for people to say that the wait doesn't work just based on the experience of Devon and Megan? What do you guys think about that? Let's start with you, Asia.
can you said I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you repeat it for me?
Yeah, I'm hearing a little background noise as well. I'll repeat the question. I said, is it fair to say that the wait does not work just based on Devon and Megan's experience?
Absolutely not. You can never judge something so big and impactful of what they did because what they did is still powerful. Despite what happened, them sacrificing themselves, him being celibate for 10 years, I read the book, but I can't quite remember. I think was this her first time being celibate in a relationship? Or I'm not sure. I can't remember what the book said. But what they did was very impactful, still is impactful, and they disciplined their flesh much longer than the average person can do. And we talked about that that you guys talked about that last week. So I definitely don't think that the weight is less important. I do not think that they have tarnished the weight. I agree with one of the people that commented. It didn't make me feel like, oh man, now I gotta go get some, man. I gotta go. It didn't make me feel like that at all. I'm still doing what God has instructed me to do. It has not made me feel like that I'm going to stumble because I wasn't idolizing them. I admired and respected what they did as believers. But at the end of the day, I serve God. And just because one person stumbles, that's not going to push me to stumble. However, some people it will, and that can be because they're still growing in their faith and they needed that person to, as I guess not even like a mentor, but just as inspiration, right? So it depends on where you're at in your faith too. Oh, I think he's muted.
That's real. That's real. So give me a moment. Want to give some shout outs in the chat. So first and foremost, what's up, JD? Definitely appreciate you stopping by and joining us, man. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. Ebony says, I hope Kenny Lattimore and Faith make it. We can't speculate. I think they were so public with their relationship, and I do see why some couples leave their relationship off of social media. And that's real. Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely talk about the dynamics of social media and the role that plays for sure. Tiffany says, I felt that many were blaming her and saying that she is quote unquote for the streets like she's loose. That was a wrong prejudgment. Yeah, yeah. People go all the way in left field and they have no clue what's going on in people's marriages behind closed doors and definitely not in people's bedroom. Zan says, exactly. The book was really good. And I still agree with a lot of what their book says and why waiting works. That's real. So, Nia, what's your take? Do you think that it's fair for people to say, hey, the wait doesn't work? Look at Devon, and Megan.
No, definitely not. And I think it's something that we need to examine as Christians. Why are we waiting? Because if you are waiting because you think that the wait guarantees you this awesome relationship that's not going to go through anything and your marriage is going to be perfect, then of course it's not going to work, right? You're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that I know I've had to reconcile my own reasons for waiting, because you do kind of get taught that reward system, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get rewarded for it. And I do believe that you get rewarded for it, but what kind of reward are you looking for? Because you can't control another person. Relationships are hard work. You know what I mean? So I think that we should definitely make sure that when we're thinking about the wait, think about it for you, and not necessarily because it's this guarantee that something else is going to happen. It's for you to guard your heart and to keep your mind clear and to do what's pleasing to God. It's not because you're going to get a cookie for your good behavior. You know, like, God doesn't work that way. If he asks us to do something, it's for a reason. And so I do believe that he wants us to wait, but definitely look at your motives, or you're going to think that it doesn't work when it really does.
That's real. That's real. Before I come to you, Tatiana, we got some really great messages in the chat. First and foremost, Tiffany says, I think what was said earlier in the chat was dead on. We wait for God not to ensure a certain outcome of marriage. And that echoes right what you were just saying, Nia, for sure. Tanisha says, I have even seen people speculating that her role on a new show, Harlem, may have made him decide to divorce her. I haven't watched the show yet. Yeah, man, people make so many speculative statements, and this is the thing that really gets me about a lot of these videos and people that stated they, like, you would swear that they were in the relationship. It's like, yo, I seen it. I know, like, I was right there with Devon. I was his buddy. I drove him down to the courthouse when he filed. Like, I've been in their marriage the whole time. Like, that is literally how people they just bring it. And if you're inclined to just believe people because of how assertively they can state a point, man, I promise you, you'll believe anything. Because some people, like, if you watch their videos, I'll be like, dang, like, this person really, they sound like they in the relationship. Like you sound like you are the third party in this relationship. The way you are just speaking, like, it's facts right now, when all you're doing is speculating. So yeah, that's just something that I just wanted to point out. So Ebony says, and none of us have a right to say if someone is saved or not. That's facts right there. I do think that she was just in a different place and did not feel convicted to stop some of the movies that she does. Yeah, that's real. And like, that's a conversation for the two of them to have, right? And that's definitely a conversation for her to have with God with regards to what things as a godly woman she should be doing or should not be doing. But once again, that's not something for us outside observers in her life, in their marriage, to say, hey, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I think we see a lot of that in our society, where people are trying to dictate the behaviors of other people and what they should be doing in their marriages and their relationships. And yeah, that's wild. So we got a comment from Developing Dad, says, God rewards faithfulness, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Hebrews 11:6. Yeah, drop the word. Drop the word. Yes, that's real. That's facts. Katrina says, I still agree that the wait is worth it. People have to dive in deeper and realize the importance of waiting. That's real. That's real. Ebony says, what is the heart posture in waiting? God ultimately and yourself. I agree. It's not a formula. Let's stop and talk about that for a minute. Tatiana, how important do you think it is for somebody's heart to be postured towards making a decision to wait, as opposed to just seeing somebody do it that they idolize or they like or they admire and say, that's the reason why I'm going to do it?
Just like with walking your whole life out with God. Like I said last week, your sexuality is important to God, and that's a process too. That it's so important, because a lot of us mishandle it, and a lot of us, we're all like built to want that, enjoy that, and it has a purpose. So it's important to God. And so when we don't understand what it is, we're going to mishandle the our stewardship of sexuality and our sexual desires. So when God tells us to wait, he's not trying to punish us or put this rule on us. He is looking out for us. He loves us that much that he doesn't want us to just lay it low and spread it wide with everybody, because he knows what comes when you do have sex with someone. He put the biology in us together. He put the soul and how that connects with another person and all, whatever, if you believe there or not, all the elements, physical and not physical that come with that kind of context. So when people just take God's creation and they do whatever they want with it, of course, people are going to try to interpret what he created into their own thinking to justify how they feel. Like, it makes me feel good, therefore I'm going to do it. I'm like, I get that. I get that. But what does God say about that? Because at the end of the day, going back to your first question, I think it comes down to your intentions and what you're trying to do with your desires and with your weight. Like, if you have the intention of wanting to please God, that's cool. That's a legit reason to wait to have sex before marriage. But if you're waiting because you have this perhaps unrealistic expectation, or you're over spiritualizing some part of your singleness so you can get a cookie, like y'all were saying, to get a cookie from God, you're gonna miss the mark, because you're not gonna see like the process that entails the character development, the clarity that you get from waiting, you saving yourself some level of heartbreak, but not giving your all to somebody, you missing a lot of things that could potentially detour your life, those kind of situations. So I think people need to look at their intentions for the wait and really like sit down and think about it. Like, what am I missing out by not having sex in this season of my life? What would happen if I do? Honestly, have those honest questions. Have that honest conversation with God. He keeps it real with you in the Bible, so you can have that real conversation with him in prayer. Or with people who you walk with, you do life with, that who probably been where you've been and could help you answer some questions you may have.
That's real. That's real. We appreciate that. So I want to go through some chat comments, and then after I do that, I'm gonna come over to my girl Asia, because she has something very special that she want to share with all of the real lovers today. So before we get into that, first and foremost, let me go through some of these comments that came up. So Ebony says the book has nothing to do with what happened in their marriage. They were faithful in sharing their journey at the time. I just watched an episode of the show. It's pretty cringe, but I won't judge. Yo, thanks for the heads up. Tanisha says they were married for 9 years. That is a long time for an entertainment couple. It's
True.
not like they got married and divorced after a year. And that's real. The first thing I said when I heard how long they had been married, I was like, dang, it's been that long. Because I promise you, to me, it feel like maybe like 3 years since I heard people talking about the wait. And to look and think, dang, that was 9 years, almost an entire decade. And that's real talk right there. And Nicole is agreeing with her for sure on that. Zan says, I think that she may have needed godly counsel. We all do. Like, let's be real. We all do, for sure. Tiffany says, unfortunately, when people learn the facts, they still embrace the negative narrative that was put forth. Yeah, they do. It's so sensationalized. People love to jump on that bandwagon and, sip the tea and all of that type of stuff. For sure, for sure. And Ebony's giving you your props.
Thank you.
Fire, as you often do.
Oh, thank you.
Danielle says, listen, my friends tell me when they pledge or are in the army, they are asked to abstain from sex in order to focus.
Oh, wow.
The wait is not to meet a man to drop it low and wide for it. Yo, both of
Tell
y'all.
the truth, Danielle.
Both of y'all would just drop it low and lay it wide. And
I heard it was for sports too. I heard there was a waiting factor for sports, for athletes too.
Right, especially boxers. Yeah. You definitely, for boxers, you don't want to do that before a fight. Danielle also says its purpose to be focused on your journey and what it is that you need. That's real. That's real. So Katiwe says, I definitely think if he didn't identify as a preacher, the church would have embraced her differently, like Sierra. I think church people have an issue with pastors marrying outside of the church.
That's a whole nother topic there.
Yeah. That's what we'll come back for. So let me save that. We're gonna put a pin in that. Yes. But for right now, let me get this off of the screen so that my girl Asia can definitely let us know about something special she wants to share with us tonight. So Asia, the floor is yours.
Oh, absolutely. So I talked about before when I came on the show that I have a book, Dirty Virgin, and I also have another one, Guilt from Comparing. And I just love this community so much, and I enjoy being here, not only as a guest, but in the chat as well. So until Friday, if you buy one Guilt from Comparing, you'll get Dirty Virgin. If you buy Dirty Virgin, you'll get Guilt from Comparing. So it's like a buy one, get the other one for free going on just for you guys until Friday. You don't have to like put a code in or anything. I'm gonna just assume you watch the show and I'll just ship you out both books.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Asia, for sharing your gifts with us.
Take advantage. Yes. I'm gonna leave that up. I just dropped the link. AsiaLGarrison.com/shop. So definitely make sure you guys go and take advantage of this. Buy one, get the other one free. You get both of her books. I read them both. They are on point. I promise you. I got them both. If I was in my room, I would grab it, show it to you. But for sure, you definitely do not want to miss out on this amazing opportunity. And she just did this out of the kindness of the heart. You know, like
Thank
typically I'll ask people
you.
like, hey man, you want to hook the real lovers up? But she was just like, you know what? Jay, I want to do something for the real lovers tonight. And I'm like, what you got in mind? And she like, yo, I want to gift them the book. And I really appreciate that. That's a great deal. Definitely make sure you guys take advantage of it for sure. So yes, that's amazing. So, oh, I see somebody new in the chat. What is going on, Alexis? So
Hey,
glad that you
Lex.
joined us. And yes, Asia is definitely awesome. Yes,
Thanks,
she
sis.
is. Yes, she definitely is. So I'm gonna lead us up for a little bit before we get back into the discussion because we got a really great question. And I really appreciate Katiwe for sharing it. But definitely want to let you guys know the link is in the description. I'm gonna put it up on the screen so you can see it. AsiaLGarrison.com/shop. It'll also be in the description for you guys to go and check it out. Show her some love and support. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity. So, with that being said, you guys, let's go back to that amazing comment. Coming over to you, Nia. What do you think about this? Where do you think the men get a pass if they marry a woman in the church versus, going outside of the church and picking somebody as a pastor or a preacher?
No, I totally get it. And I've been guilty of feeling that way as well. Like, really, her? Like, you're a pastor, you know what I mean? But I think that we have to kind of break out of our mindsets and break out of our preconceived notions with what spirituality looks like, what saved looks like, and what a Christian woman should be. I've been having a lot of conversations lately about womanhood. And I think we up as the person who maybe wears the most clothes or is the quietest or reads their Bible the most, and none of those are things that I think men are out here judging women off of. You know what I mean? And so we unfairly place expectations on Christian women to be something that they don't necessarily have to be. So I mean, I've been guilty of prejudging people, but I'm definitely working on making sure that I look at people how God looks at them, and he looks at their heart, right? And so he very well could have just looked at her heart. I'm sure she's a great person, and we have to stop taking issue with what other people's relationship with God looks like.
Facts. Yo, you better say it. That was a mic drop right there. That was definitely a mic drop, Nia. I love that. I love that. And I want to give a quick shout out really quick to Tasha. Appreciate you joining us on the stream. Definitely hope that you enjoyed tonight's show and the discussion. Really appreciate you stopping by. So what is your take on this, Asia? What is your take on the whole preacher marrying outside of the church?
Absolutely. Nia said a lot. And first of all, you hit it right on the nose. And I think, and I feel her. I think most women that go to church, they're involved in every other ministry, the singles, the young adults, the soon to be married. I mean, any ministry that it is you involved in. And if it's a single, the single men that are there, you would think, and especially a pastor, not saying it got to be a woman from his church, but you would just assume that he will get a woman that goes to his church, a woman that, because these women are in these ministries because they do desire to be married. So you would think that he would have chose one of them, or maybe one from somewhere else. So it does kind of make a woman feel like, well, dag, like we doing everything right, and the man that's the strong man of God, he overlook us. But I also check my own heart, because I can say, well, Asia, most guys that you like or who you feel don't go to your church, and the brother that's up in church that's in that single ministry too, sitting right next to you, you not looking to him. You look outside the church for probably some of the same reasons that he may have. So I always got to check myself and say, well, wait a minute, I do the same thing.
That's
Most
fair.
of the guys I like are not members of my church. And it's just like sometimes you just go off the heart. Sometimes you go off the person's character, and they may just not be in the same congregation or a member of where you are, or in a church at all. And I am very guilty of that. And I'm not going to say I'm going to marry a man that go to my church. And I don't want nobody putting that expectation on me, because I'm going to marry who I feel like God told me to and who I want. And every other believer has that right to do so as well.
Yo, that's real. That's real. So
That's
Danielle
good.
dropped this comment. She said, Keon Henderson, a pastor, is engaged to Shawnee O'Neal from Basketball
Oh,
Wives, Shaquille
wow.
O'Neal's ex-wife, and I haven't seen the same uproar that Megan received. And I'll be honest, like I
Hmm.
didn't know about this couple,
Me
but
neither.
that's interesting how people kind of pick and choose who they want to throw shade at. And
Oh,
yeah, I think that
it's
that's pretty
coming.
interesting.
It's coming.
Yeah.
They're
I
not married
mean,
yet,
that was,
so it's
I
coming.
think, because of Megan's image. Megan's
Right.
image is different from Shawnee O'Neal. You know, Megan was out there confident, confident in her sexuality. So, and Shawnee's not like that. So it kind of goes with the image of everything as well, the perception.
Yeah, that's a great point, Nia. No doubt, no doubt. And Ebony says, plus it can get messy dating in the church. And
Yeah,
yeah, it can. You definitely gotta
especially if you're
be
a leader.
right. That right there. That right there. Yep. So Tiffany says, I love how community has such a realistic and balanced view on these issues. Oh, our community. Yeah, yeah, man. We do. We do. We want to
Aw.
talk about this thing and do it from a very objective perspective. So let's go back to you, Tatiana. What's your take on the whole preacher pastor thing? Any unique points that you want to add that Nia or Asia hadn't already hit on?
Yeah, they both touched on really good points. It's definitely with looking within yourself. Like, am I missing the mark? Am I competing with other women in the church? Is there like not enough men that we got to be like looking at him like, why didn't you pick us? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a number of things that came to mind with that. Like when I first saw, I really enjoyed Devon's first book. Um, I forgot the name of it right now, but I really loved it. And so I started like watching more of his sermons. And so the first time that I saw Megan at one of his speaking engagements, I was like, that's Megan Good. Okay. It didn't throw me off, but it did a little bit at the same time. But I knew that she was Christ adjacent. I didn't think she was full blown Holly weird out there in the streets like that. But she had some habits, that weren't like necessarily your typical Christian behavior. You know what I'm saying? So for me to look at that, I was like, okay, she could pivot. She can make a change. She could have got saved like within those last few years. Like we don't know her story. So for me, I was just like, okay, good. That's good. So I didn't think from seeing them in the beginning that they were off or anything like that, because there's stories in everyday churches of people marrying people who just got saved or been delivered or who've been through a rough past, has something that wasn't squeaky clean. So who are we to judge like if that relationship is going to work out or not based off of what we know of that person? So that's kind of like, to me, that came to mind.
Nah, that's
Can
good. That's
I
good.
add
We got a
something?
couple of comments over here. So Ebony says, everyone is at a different point in their walk. I think Megan is a bit more known than Shawnee, so she got more scrutiny. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, Katiwe says, I also think it's an age thing. Megan was 31 when they got together.
Mhm.
Shawnee is a seasoned woman. Omarosa also married a pastor, and the Saints were silent. She definitely doesn't exhibit Christ
Child.
like behavior, according to Katiwe. I appreciate you for sharing that. And yeah, like everybody's walk is different. We know that just from a spiritual perspective, and everybody's relationship is different. The scrutiny that people get. Um, there's so many different factors as to why some things people latch on to, why people scrutinize other people, put them under the microscope, and other people don't even really get much attention whatsoever. And
Mhm.
I just think that when people see
Mhm.
a nice young attractive couple and they come from seemingly different walks of life, people tend to point fingers and say, oh man, well, why is he with her or why is she with him? And people have all of their own assumptions like we talked about earlier. So I really appreciate you guys for bringing that point out.
Can I
And
add one more thing,
of
Jay?
course you can. What's up?
Asia has something as well. I'm just
Oh,
going to say this real quick. We also, in our culture, in the young millennial Black culture, okay, we exalted Megan Good as a sex symbol. We did not associate her with
Yeah.
the most positive attributes, okay? So when we saw this, it's kind of like a course correction that not everybody understands. Some people ain't saved like that. Some people don't know the prodigal son story or these other stories in the Bible, these other testimonies of people going from wretched to righteous. Okay. So sometimes we're not going to get it. Sometimes maybe even the saints, we maybe in our flesh, we're like, that? with that? How? How? Like, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, yo, we had to like take a step back. Like, you know, God can do whatever He wants. He turned what Saul into Paul. That took a process, but it happened. I'm not saying Meagan Good is the worst person in the world, but sometimes the church made it seem like she was.
Nah,
I
that's
think
real.
Asia had something else to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Asia,
I definitely want to play devil's advocate, right? I
please
definitely
welcome
want to
it.
go a little deeper in this. And I have two questions. The first thing is that should we, and when we're dating, should there be some sort of standard? So is it wrong to expect a certain level of accountability and a standard for a pastor? That's the first thing. Is
That's a
because I
good
think that a
question.
lot of people, because I get both perspectives. I can't sit here and say that I'm 100% like, oh yeah, they're judging her, it's so wrong. Like, yeah, they're doing that. But even me as a believer, trying to have an open viewpoint, had questions like, like this seems a little off. And the second thing is that can people who are not in the relationship say that two people are unequally yoked? Because if my thing,
Ooh-wee.
or is that only something that the people that are involved can make that comment? Because a lot of people were saying, like, hey, this is the result of an unequally yoked relationship. Two people that were unequally yoked that tried
Mm,
to come together. But when we say stuff like that, it's like, oh,
yeah,
you being too judgmental. And it's just
right.
like, well, conversations like this are healthy because we got to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that stuff like this doesn't continue to happen. Could Devon Franklin had the savior mentality? Like, you know what? I can make her be a woman of
Exactly.
God. Like, this is the woman I'm attracted to. I
Right.
love her heart. Because women, we turn men down like that all the time. It's we can be attracted to a man and say he got a good heart and he means well, but we still know we're unequally yoked. We
Right.
still know, like, yeah, that sound good, and yeah, okay, but we're unequally yoked. So I just kind of want to talk about that. Like, is that just what it was? Like, you know what, we tried to make this work, and I'm not trying to speculate on their marriage. I hope that it, like Jay said earlier, that there is some room for redemption. But is
Yeah.
it just a simple case of maybe he had a savior mentality, like I'm gonna turn her into a housewife, and maybe she just did not desire to be that. Maybe she
Mm-hmm.
did desire to give up her career. Maybe that's
Yeah.
just not what she wanted to do, and they just maybe came to the conclusion, like, you know what, after 9 years we might just be unequally yoked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's it. And I would like to kind of dive deeper into that, if you guys don't mind.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna do that. We about to cook. Before we do that though, let me address some of these comments that we had. First and
Yes.
foremost, want to welcome Empress. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We appreciate you being with us tonight. They say, I do not think that we should have a say in who dates or marries who, but God. I
Hmm.
admire the flowers, Redefine TV, for keeping it private until engaged. Yeah, that's a good point. They also say too many hands in it gets messy. The world puts so much honor and spotlight on these quote unquote leaders or quote unquote celebrities. And yeah, I agree. No doubt. No doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had another comment. Katiwe says, I agree, Tatiana. We shouldn't be judging, and that is real talk. Danielle had a comment. She says, I feel there's an expectation for pastors to choose a plain Jane, asexual,
Oh my
chaste
God.
woman. And when he breaks out the mold and chooses a woman who defies that, it's a
Not
problem.
asexual, Jesus.
I know, right? Not asexual. That's a whole nother level in
Right.
conversation. She also says, also the most judgmental people in the church were the biggest hoes with the biggest course correction. So
Oh
there's that
man.
too. Let's keep it all the way real. Yo, that's real talk.
Mm-mm-mm.
So with
Well,
that being said, let's go
yeah.
back to what Asia said. I think this is really something that needs to be discussed, which is,
Yes.
let's see, I thought I put that question right here. Okay, yeah, here it is. Can people outside of a relationship deem the relationship as unequally yoked? Nia, what do you say?
I say no, because you can't judge anybody's relationship with God. We don't know how often Megan was in her prayer closet, or how she was serving God, or we don't see those things. We just see what's on social media and what's on TV, and then we say, oh, well, she's not saved like that. But how do we know that? You know what I mean? I guess we expect to see a certain change in people, but then again, we have to look at our motives and why do we think, like the comment was saying, why do we think that you got to be fully covered and you got to look this way and you got to look that way? And I appreciate the fact that now, especially millennials, we're kind of breaking out of that that, like, listen, my skirts don't all touch my ankles, and sometimes there's a little shoulder out, and all of this other
Like
stuff. It's
shoulder
like, you can't judge
cleavage.
my relationship with God based on clothes, right? Like, modesty and all of those things, those are personal things you got to talk to the Lord about. And she's stated multiple times that her and God are okay with it. So if he hasn't moved in that section of her life just yet, he hasn't convicted her in that section of her life just yet, that's her journey. So who are we to say that she wasn't more quote unquote saved than us? we don't know. We don't know. So you got to be careful with that, because we all do things that people would probably judge as less saved than it should be.
Right.
Yo, that's real. Yo, this comment right here. The T-Way says, Asia, you are right. I do agree. It appeared that they were unequally yoked. For example, I wouldn't be out here marrying Future, but I have no idea what his Christ walk is like. And, it's
Mm.
true. And this is the one thing that I say. I think that when you do have a certain amount of information about somebody's history, you do have to take that into consideration. And I don't feel like people are off
Yeah.
course by identifying what a person's track record has said, or even the things that they're currently doing, and taking that into consideration. But to the point that we're talking about now, I definitely am in agreement with Nia that, people outside of the relationship can't really point to it and say that it's unequally yoked. So, yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Let me run through a few of these comments that I saw, and then after that, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Tatiana. So let's see. Ebony says he seemed more like a motivational Christian speaker. He was on Dr. Oz. Why are we so focused on her? He produced Hollywood movies, one that she was actually in. That's real. He was in Hollywood. Tiffany says, I believe that certain standards should be placed upon a pastor when dating. Okay, okay. That's real. That's real. Oh, what's going on? V Sanchez is in the building. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight's stream. She says, I'm with Asia on that one. Katrina says, that is so true. Let's see. Ebony also says, I agree with Danielle. A Christian woman does not have to wear a bun in her hair and a skirt to her ankles. And one last one. Tiffany says, no, someone outside a relationship can't determine if they are unequally yoked. So coming to you, Tatiana, what say you?
I think people can say whatever they want, but it's up to the couple to get their validation from God. And if they want people that they really trust in their inner circle, not just anybody, but their inner circle of people who are probably mentoring them or holding them accountable in some kind of way that they can go to for advice, maybe those people they should get that real talk from. Because if you're just going about it blindly, maybe you're not seeing everything that they might see on the outside. So you should have someone who you trust that can be like asking you the tough questions so you can come to the conclusion yourself. Like Jesus did that as well. He asked questions and brought up, these parables to have people understand certain concepts and principles. So you should have someone like that in your life too that would help you think about it. Like, do I really know what I'm signing up for with this person? Are we equally yoked? I think that's something that the couple ultimately has to define for themselves, but it helps to have people they trust again in their corner.
That's good. That's good. So I have another question. So I want to turn our attention to something a little bit different. Do you guys feel at any point that people within the community of faith have idolized the relationship and the marriage of Devon and Megan? What do you think, Asia?
I don't necessarily know if people have idolized them particularly, like this particular couple, but I just think the weight in general, yes. It's such and I guess I can be transparent even from my own personal walk. Like, I feel like that people are literally just waiting around, even for me, when it comes to, I've shared in Dirty Virgin about how I'm not having sex till marriage, how I've never had sex before. And I feel like even with me, I feel like people just waiting to see if you slipped up. People waiting to see, like, oh, you still feel that way? Are you still doing that? So I think that people just idolize the weight in general, especially because it is such a taboo, especially because people are not doing it. Like, it's just not common. So I don't know
Mm.
if the church people necessarily are like idolizing them, but just the thought of it in general, I think so. Because people be eyeing you like a microscope, and I feel that because I live that, so I know.
No, that's real. So we got some comments. So Zan says, I dated a so-called Christian man, and honey, They can
That
be
is
worse than any secular man that you could date. Everyone who says they are believers are not always believers. That
that
comment
is
right
true.
there is
Very true.
actual factuals
Facts.
right there. She kicking actual factuals.
And proven.
Yeah, Katrina says absolutely. They definitely idolized it. I believe so. She
Mm,
believes they did. Zan says I think celebrities in general are idolized too much. Good point. Empress says two Christians don't mean it's equally yoked. So
right.
truthfully, only God can determine if it's unequal. God gave us a choice whether to walk with Him or the world. So that means we can choose who to marry. Real talk. Oh, a few more came through. Katrina says, I think a lot of people forget that celebrities are just regular people too. Yes, they are. Tiffany says that is so true. And Zan says people want an excuse to not wait. Sexuality
That's
in the
it
church
right there.
is so ignored and not taught in general. That
That's
is
it.
facts.
That is
That
it
right
right
there is
there.
facts. And Empress says so true. And I agree. One more came through. Danielle says true. But when Yvonne, now y'all know I struggle with these pronunciations. Is it
Orgy.
Origi? What is it?
Orgy.
Or
Orgy.
okay, you said that. Said she was 38 and a virgin. The messy part of me wondered if she still is holding on to the V after Insecure wrapped. Hey, who knows, man? Who knows? But back to the original question, sliding over to you, Nia. What say you about whether or not this couple was idolized?
I don't think people idolize them. I just think that Christians are just hungry for an example that is worth
That's
it,
good.
an example that there's still hope. Like
Right.
everybody's just trying to grasp something. And so when they see somebody doing it, they're like, yes, okay, this is proof that it works. I
Mm-hmm.
just needed an example. You know, and
Yeah.
so
That's
they're
good.
grabbing for hope in a world that's telling you to do the exact opposite of what the word says to do. And so, I mean, it's something that you have to be aware of when you have a platform that people are looking at you as an example. I don't think that they were idolized, and we also have to consider that I'm sure that they knew this. And so deciding to go public with the divorce, that's extremely difficult knowing that people placed you on a pedestal. It cannot be an easy decision to come to because you have so much pressure from the outside world to continue to uphold this image. So I just think we're looking for hope in whatever way we can find it, and that's what people do.
That's good.
Nah, yo. Once again, a mic drop. Yo, that's twice tonight, Nia, with the mic
Hey.
drop. So we see you out here shooting like Steph Curry, shooting out the gym. I love it. Ebony says, Jay, you are on point. We do see Christian marriages as idols. Yeah, I think some people do. I definitely do. And I think you do kind of get that lean more towards people that are in the public eye. I definitely don't think that we should be idolizing different couples. And that kind of leads me to the next question that I want to get into, which is, let me toss it up on the screen. Do you guys think that it's beneficial or detrimental to look at these couples as quote unquote couples goals? So this is a little bit different from idolizing. Can we say I'm not idolizing you, but you are hashtag couples goals? What say you, Tatiana, on this? Is it beneficial or detrimental to do that?
Um, I, I think it's good to be inspired by other people. We influence people all the time. People influence us. So if you want to call it couples goals, I think it depends on what that is, whatever that thing that you're defining as couples goals, because everybody's relationship and marriage has a different purpose and a reason they got together, and what the context is going on behind the scenes and all that. I think there's some general couples goals that we can all agree are decent and things that we should strive to do, right? Like a general couples goal that celebrities do and non-celebrities do alike is have a family. That's not everybody's couples goals, but that is one. Genuinely, generally when people get married, like one of the things that you do is procreate or have children. That's something that God designed for some marriages to do. So that's one that comes to mind. But as far as looking at other couples as couples goals, I think it's also important to see God on what's important for you and the purpose for your relationship, because God may have a total different purpose for you than what you think. And so you have to be open and flexible to his way of doing things and follow that lead.
Good point. Very well said. Coming over to you, Asia. What's your take?
I agree with Tatiana. I think it's okay to be inspired. I think that we in the body, we should be inspired by each other. I think that Nia hit it on the nose. Like so many people are looking to have hope in something. So I think it's
Hmm.
that thin line of being inspired, but still having or leaving room for God to write your story. You know, be inspired by it, but let God still come in and do what it is that He's supposed to do with you within you and your relationship. I'm inspired by my parents' marriage, but I'm not trying to imitate everything that my mom and dad did because that
Hmm.
takes away the uniqueness of what God is going to do through me and my spouse. So I think again, be inspired. If they give helpful tips, take it. You know, adhere the wisdom from the couples if they're sharing it. The
That's
things, the
good.
areas that they fall have fallen short in, take that and be like, okay, you know what? Well, maybe we shouldn't do this, or maybe we should implement this, but still allowing God to create different things within us as well.
Hmm.
Nah, that's good. That's good. So I just want to get some clarity, right? Going back to the question. Are you both saying that the hashtag couples goals is beneficial? That's what it sounds like.
I think people idolize the hashtag. I think they idolize the concept of couples goals. Like, oh, it has to be like this. Otherwise, my relationship is trash or my relationship isn't going to work. I think that's the problem we're seeing with this explosion on social media with couples goals. Like how some people express their love and devotion to their partner. That may be totally different than how you and your partner are doing that. So they like start to compare, and that's where it becomes a problem.
I think that if we look at it from a very simple, let's just say couple goals and we take the idolizing out of it, take
Right.
the, you know, trying to compare and everything. But if we just look at it like, oh, couple goals, like, oh, they paid off their student debt goals, like, oh yeah,
That's definitely one of mine.
goals. You know, if we just take it and just like leave it at the surface of just goals, I think it's fine. But it becomes an issue, like what Tatiana said, when you start idolizing it and you start comparing. But if you just leave it as that, oh, this couple is doing some good things for the body of Christ, you know what? Maybe we should try to do something like that too in our own way. I think it's completely fine if we don't read
Mhm.
too deep into it.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's fair. That's fair. So Katrina says, I think that we should be inspired, but never have a couple that you say is your quote unquote goal. We truly don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And I think that that's a really good point. The way that I've always looked at it is not so much as looking to people or couples as goals, but one concept that I have been a fan of, and it sounds very similar to what Tatiana and Asia is talking about, is having a relationship model. And I think that that is beneficial, especially if you have a connection with those people. Like, not so much people from afar. I mean, I think you can glean things from couples that you may not know. But I have learned and gleaned so much from the married couples that I've actually had the opportunity to interact with. And I think back to, the church that I was attending a couple years ago, and the married couples that I had the opportunity to connect with who were over one of the young adult ministries that I was a part of. And I really connected with them, like the husbands and the wives. And I learned things from both sides. And to me, when I look at them, there were things about their relationship that I look at and I'd be like, oh yeah, I think that that's something that I would like to implement in my relationship, or I think that that's something that's valuable. So for me, I never looked at them and be like, I want them to be the relationship goal for me, or I'm idolizing their marriage, or I think that it's perfect. Like, in no shape, way, or form. I just looked at it and I just take notes of things that I see in couples that I interact with, or even from afar or up close, and say, hey, I like that. That's something that I want to put in my
Mhm.
in my marriage. And I'll give you guys an example. Years ago, I had this amazing couple come on the podcast, and we were having a conversation about infidelity in a marriage, and they were very open and honest about their experience with that. And what really stood out to me is they told me that as a result of that, they implemented a practice in their relationship where once a week they have a specific time that they schedule where they come together and they have the ability to share anything that's come up throughout the week instead of harboring it and holding on to it. Each person gets a time to express what's on their heart, what they wanted to. I mean, it kind of makes me think of how you have people say, we need to talk. It's almost like setting aside for the we need to talk time, but doing it in a healthy way where if there's something that you've been harboring this week, we don't want to carry this into next week. We don't want to carry it into next year. We don't want to carry it as we move along in our marriage, but let's sit down, let's talk about this and address it without the other person saying anything. The other person has to be quiet and just listen, and both people go and then they talk through it. And I looked at that and I was like, yo, that's something that I would like to implement in my marriage going forward. So that's just an example that I took away, not idolizing the couple, not looking at them as hashtag couples goals, but just something that they practice that I would like to implement in my future marriage.
That's a good one.
Cool, cool. So let's see. I think we got some comments before I come over to Nia. Ebony says, I, I don't know what that's. You don't see the struggle. Maybe I missed something. Oh, hold up. Yeah, I did miss something. Okay. Ebony says, just realize that social media has these taglines and you don't see the struggles. Right. I
Right.
agree with that. I agree with that. Tanisha says the term couples goals is looked at as they are the perfect couple, right? No person is perfect, so we should not idolize them. I agree.
Amen.
Katrina says, and I even myself had to stop saying a certain couple is goals just based off social media. Social media is a facade.
Tell
Yes.
the truth.
Say it. Say it loud. Say it proud. And Katiwe says, I think looking to couples on a smaller level is more beneficial. Looking at those you know or those in your church, it's easier to glean from them and know more about their journey. Yeah,
For
definitely
sure.
agree. Empress says, Tatiana said it purpose. People might be getting married for the wrong reasons. Why divorce? Adultery, yes. Abuse, yes. But is it because they fell out of love? What can we truly look at these couples for? So
Mhm.
good point. Good point. She says God has a purpose for every union. So yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. So coming over to you, Nia, what's your take on the whole couples goals and that like?
I mean, just echoing what everybody else has said, you have to be very careful with thinking that what you see and what couples put out there is how their relationship really is. Like, I have married friends that'll be fighting one day, and then I go home and look on social media and they posted a happy picture with their whole family. And I'm like, girl, y'all just fighting. So you can't really look at social media like, oh, this is what's going on with them. It's people that are, like they say, married for different reasons. There's different expectations people have on their spouses. There's just so much that's intimate between two partners that we don't know. So definitely, I wouldn't use social media, but like you said, just having smaller things and having couples around you that you're able to witness their union, you can take that and implement some of the things I'm sure that, they've learned and the wisdom they have. But just based off social media, I wouldn't trust it.
Nah, that's real. That's real. Yo,
Right.
ladies, y'all have been dropping so many gems tonight. Before we get into our next question, just want to take a break. Give the chat the opportunity. You guys, if there are any questions that you like to ask or have us answer tonight, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat. Also, want to remind everybody if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can leave comments and definitely invite a friend if you are enjoying the show and you think that they would as well. Definitely feel free to do that. And I want to hand it over to my girl, Nia. Nia, what would you like to let the people know about? Please, floor is all yours.
Yes. So I started a nonprofit a few years ago called I Am Purposed, and I work with girls ages 7 to 16, and we talk a lot about walking in your purpose, your self-esteem, having godly confidence. And so I just wanted to share my website with everybody. It's iampurposedfoundation.com. If you know any young ladies who need the mentorship, they need encouragement, I do events, I do workshops, I do speaking engagements. Definitely hit me up on the website. I just would love to work with as many girls as possible. So when things like this come up, they already have a solid foundation of who they are in Christ and what God wants their life to look like. So just definitely visit my website and let me know if you need anything regarding young ladies and them walking out their life and living their purpose. I am here.
That's awesome, Nia. And that speaks to how powerful names are because your name in Swahili is purpose. We're celebrating Kwanzaa this week, and
Yes,
that's one of the
it's true.
principles. And you're living in your purpose, in your name. That is so dope.
It's beautiful.
Yo, I love that.
Thank
I
you.
dropped the link for everybody in the chat so you guys can go and show my girl Nia some love. I truly, truly appreciate that, you guys. And as you guys know, we have been getting a lot of support for the show. As I mentioned earlier, tonight's show is sponsored by Tiffany. And I just want to thank Tiffany again for sponsoring the show. We've
Thank
also had other people
you.
to donate to the show. And what I wanted to do tonight is let you guys know how you can support the show if you like. So give me one moment as I bring this screen up to share with you guys. So if you go to righttorolove.com/support, it will take you to this site right here. It's called Coffee. And this is a way for you to support this ministry in a variety of different ways. So the first thing that you'll notice is that if you want to make a one-time donation by sponsoring the show, you'll have the opportunity to do that. That is one of the ways that we've had Portia and Tiffany to actually support the show. So big shout out to Tiffany for doing that. And as you notice, the site is called Coffee. Usually people will donate a coffee, but I'm not a coffee drinker. But what I do like is some lemonade and some Chick-fil-A grilled chicken sandwiches. So by all means, if you would like to help a brother get a nice little tasty lunch with a one-time donation, it will also help our channel and what we're doing over here and what we're building with the J. Immanuel Network. I would appreciate that. In addition to the one-time donation, we also have membership programs. So all of my ladies out there, if you are interested in learning how to better understand men and learning how to interact with them, get over some of those frustrations that you have with not being able to meet the right men, I'm going to be diving in deep. I'm going to be having multiple calls throughout each month where we're going to address any questions that you have about getting to know guys, interacting with guys, any questions that you have about men. I'm going to be inviting some brothers on to these sessions where we're going to have some private conversations. It's not going to be aired publicly for people to tune in. So if you join our membership, you'll have the opportunity to tune in for that. Also, going into the new year, I know that there are a lot of people who are interested in starting a business for the first time or becoming a content creator. I got 10 plus years as a blogger, a podcaster, a YouTuber, and as a live stream host. And I am finally putting myself out there to help you guys to build and develop your first business or your first content avenue. So if you want to get your podcast launched, you want to start your YouTube channel, you can join one of these plans that we have right here. We will also be having multiple monthly calls where we dive in. I'm also going to be inviting some successful entrepreneurs, some successful content creators that I know on to join us. And this is the thing. Maybe somebody's like, yo, I don't really want to do the membership thing. Well, we also have it where you can actually do a commission, where if you just want to have a one-time conversation with me, we can chat. Limited slots because my calendar is full. So definitely make sure you jump on that quick if you want to get it. And I also have these Q&A sessions for our content creators, podcasters. If you want to get into that, I also am offering my professional services if you want to get into podcasting, dive into that this year. So if that's you, go over to righttorolove.com/support. You have the ability to support us, and you can even buy our prayer book, Manifest 10 Powerful Prayers for Your Future Husband. Dump the Baggage Workbook. All of this is in one place, and that's why I love this site, Coffee. I know Patreon is a site that I considered using, but this is a one-stop shop. One-time donations, membership plans. You can actually hire and work with me as well as purchase things from the shop. So if you guys want to show your love and support for the J. Immanuel Network and what we're building here, this is the way that you can do it. But with that being said, you guys, I want to transition into our next question and our next topic for tonight. And that's really looking at the impact of Devon and Meagan's, filing for divorce. Do you think that it's going to have a negative impact on the community of faith, namely when it comes to people abandoning the weight? I want to know what you feel, Tatiana. Do you think people are going to abandon the weight because of this?
I don't think they will, but I think it's just disheartening. I think like we all shared earlier how we were just shocked, and felt, saddened by the news. I hope that it doesn't do that for people. Like we already touched on, we lift up these celebrities, and a lot of people lift up celebrities just to take them down. But for those who were following their journey, read their books, was inspired by it, may even made the decision to wait because of their story and their book. My prayer is that those who are watching this and all the news and all that they be encouraged to keep going and keep doing the right thing with God, because sometimes we all come to Jesus different ways. You may have someone in story or testimony that may have inspired you to accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, and at some point you have to start walking with Jesus yourself. So I'm hoping that these people will do the same, that they will find other resources out there to help them if they are struggling with certain areas in their purity or their sexuality or abstinence, whatever you want to call it. I even have several Instagram people that I connect with, that I work with, that I want to share, if that's okay. I'm just going to shout them out real quick.
Please.
There's several people who have resources, whether it be apps, books, social media, whatever you need to get you through this walk. One of them is Camden Webb. She's a poet. She's an artist. She also does a lot with abstinence content. There's Journey to Purity. Shout out to my girl Erica Williams. There's the I Waited blog, which features couples who have successfully waited until marriage to have sex. Shout out to my girl Maryland on that one. There's the Sexless Tribe. That's an app. It's been very popular and it blew up over the past year with believers who want to wait till marriage. And there's been plenty of testimonies coming from that. So that's the Sexless Tribe. There's the Wait Up app. I think that was brought together by Jim Dre, who just got married not too long ago. He was one of our fellow millennial virgins who was out here, but now he's married. And we have my sister Russelyn Williams, who is a part of Intercession for a Generation. So all of those resources are available to you guys. You can check them out online on social media and get what you need so you can keep the wait going. We are not islands. We all go through different stuff. So get what you need so you can have successful waiting season.
Most definitely. And you definitely got to send me all of those resources so I can add them in the description once this live stream is done so people that can easily go back and access them. So let's get your take on this, Nia. Do you feel like there are going to be some people saying, you know what, forget all of that waiting. I'm about to start having sex before marriage because it didn't work for them. It won't work for me.
I don't think so. I think, like we said, they may be discouraged a little bit, but I don't think so. Unless they were already looking for a way out, which some people are. They're just looking for that one reason and be like, nope, nah, not doing it. They may have found their reason, but it's a decision that people don't take lightly. And so while they may be discouraged, I think if you've already made this decision in your heart to wait, then you will continue to do that. Like the Lord will uphold you and encourage you in some way or add extra conviction that you need or another example to look at, So if you're really looking for what you need, then you'll find it. The Bible says to the pure, all things are pure. So if you're looking for these pure examples, then you're going to find it. You're going to see what you're looking for. So I don't think it'll have as much of an impact on people as that.
Nah, that's good. That's good. Chat, definitely let us know what you guys think. Do you feel like people within the community of faith are going to be abandoning the practice? I definitely would love to know what you guys think. So we got Tasha says, I agree with Nia. Yeah, and that's good. That's good, man. I really hope that people are like, you know what? I'm still going to walk this walk. I'm not going to let somebody else's quote unquote stumble hinder me from the journey that I'm on. And that's really, really important is sticking to your commitment. And I think that's a major thing because sometimes people do things as a preference versus a promise. When you've made a promise to yourself and God that this is the journey that you're going to walk, I think that other people's experiences aren't really going to hinder you or take you off course. But that's just my personal opinion. So got another comment here. Tiffany says, wow, thanks for sharing these needful resources, Tatiana. Yeah, she always comes through in the clutch with those resources. So Zan says, yes, Nia, that is what I believe. They will use this as an excuse. If a person is serious about their walk, then they will know this is warfare. Yo, that's real. That's real. Katrina says, I agree with Nia too. And so does Empress. Yeah, so yo, they feel they rocking with you. They are rocking with you. Asia, what say you?
I mean, I agree with Nia too. Make me the fourth person. I say if folks want to have sex, they been wanting to have sex. So this ain't got nothing to do with it. Y'all been wanting to do it, and you just don't use this as an excuse to do it, to justify your sin, because sometimes we do try to justify sin to make reason of why we did sin instead of just saying, hey, I wanted to have sex. It was hard. So if you're serious, it's not going to do anything to you. You just feel like how most of us feel like, man, this sucks. But you still, it's between you and God, and you're not willing to let somebody else's tragedy be your downfall.
Right.
Nah, that's real. That's real. We got a few more comments over here. So let's see. First one. Tiffany says, no, they will not abandon the walk because their intentions are to please God no matter what. That is real talk right there. So Katiwe says, thank you for sharing these resources, Tatiana. I didn't know there were apps. Yeah,
there are apps,
yes,
there's an app for that.
Tasha laughing. So Danielle says, I think the age of the people waiting plays a factor in this discussion. I agree. I agree.
That's
If I am
true.
49 and waiting, I may become more discouraged by Megan and Devon than someone young with options. And I think that's a really great point. I think that there's two sides of
Interesting.
this, right? The commitment, the promise, the piece that we talked about, but then also like I mentioned, I think it was like 2 weeks ago when we were talking about spiritualizing, and you gotta be realistic. You gotta be logical, and you got to be practical. And for some people, they may look at that and say, hey, they're getting up there and they make the decision to abandon ship. And I think it goes back to the conversation that we were having before is does that mean that a person's relationship with God is jeopardized or they're not saved and all of those judgments that people place, right? I think that also plays a role in this. Some people make decisions that we may not make, that we may not even agree with, but at the end of the day, everybody has to walk their own walk. And I feel like that's a part of free choice. That's a part of free will, which is a gift that God gave us. And we may not agree with it, but by all means, man, however a person feels like they have to navigate their life and get themselves right with God, by all means, do what you got to do. Tiffany says, spiritual warfare is real. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Zan says, try being 55 and a grandma. It's really difficult.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Lord.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Like, trust me, I know young people out here struggling. So I can only imagine somebody that has that desire to be married and they are, like not still young, not in their 20s, not in their 30s. And they're questioning like, is this something that I should be doing? Is it something that I should give a second thought to? And by all means, like I mentioned last week, I think it's vitally important for people to take the time to weigh their options, think things out. I think it's easy to just make a quick, rash, impulsive decision, even one that is based on a spiritual foundation. Like I feel like even those things, you really need to stop, pause, weigh it, and then make the decision that fits your life and your relationship with God personally. And I think we had one more come through. Tiffany says, that is true, Danielle. Someone older may decide to go a different way. And that is real talk. So I want to come over to Nia. Are there any questions or anything that you want us to dive into with regards to this topic tonight?
No, not for me. We covered a lot of stuff tonight.
Yeah, we have. We have. What about you, Asia?
I think I feel the same. I think that we talked about a lot. I'm not sure if I don't know if you guys touched on this last week, but just any like suggestions, or maybe we can just kind of give some helpful tips to those who are waiting, and how to continue to wait in a healthy way. So maybe that can be helpful, but that's all I got.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So, what would you say? What would you encourage or say to somebody who is in the process of waiting? They heard this news, it rocked them a little bit on their foundation, and they're trying to find their footing.
I always tell young women, men, whoever trying to wait, just always remember your why. If you stay focused on your why and hold on to that, that triumphs any feeling that you're currently having. And it helps to not even look at, okay, like, yeah, they messed up, but this is why I'm doing this, because number one, I want to honor God. Number two, I want to do something different. Number three, I want to get different results. And number four, I want to honor myself in a different way. Like I know that I deserve a godly relationship, and I know I can obtain a godly relationship, and I want the fruit that comes from a godly relationship. So I think that always remembering that kind of helps me a lot. And also keeping yourself occupied is what I would tell people. I always say that if you got too much idle time, that can make your mind wander, and it can make you think about things, and it can make you, you just start sitting back like, man, like, I ain't did this in such a long time. Like that mind gets to going. But if you're really walking and being obedient with God, with what God told you to do, it keeps your mind focused and centered, because it becomes a bigger picture. Like, man, I can't slip up now, because I do got people that's looking at me, and I want them to be encouraged by my story. So I think that people being encouraged by you can also motivate you too. I always say, and I talked about this in Dirty Virgin, that being a virgin is so much bigger for me now than it was when I was in high school. And high school was for, because I felt like I had one up on the other girls. It was for myself. It was for my own pride and my own ego. But now it's for my little cousins who 6, 7, and 8. It's for them. It's for God. But secondly, it's for them. I come after that. It's for being an example. So I think that again, the why gotta be so much bigger than anything.
Nah, that's real talk, real talk. Before I come to Tatiana and Nia, just want to point out some of these messages in the chat. So the first one, let's see, was it this one? Right here. Yeah. Katiwe says, I agree, Danielle. Normally, people who share testimonies have been waiting for 4 minutes, but God will put up barriers even when you try to abandon ship if you continue talking to Him in it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, or talking to Him through it, they clarify. Yeah, and that's real. I think when you have a relationship with God, I promise you, God will step in. But this is the thing that I gotta say. Let me say this first. Let me preface this statement. Don't rely on God to step in, because there will definitely be some times where He won't step in. And
Hello.
I'm speaking from experience, but there are some instances where He will. So you gotta be mindful. One, know what your limits are, know what your boundaries are. We talked about that here. Or what did my man Daniel say last week? Guardrails. That's the new
Yeah.
term, right? You gotta have your guardrails. Shout out to Daniel. Definitely want to make sure you have those up, right? And that's so important when we're navigating through life and especially in relationships. So that's a really great point. So Tiffany says, ladies, always be encouraged. My aunt married when her husband died and she remarried at 79 years old. So look, it's happening out here. It's definitely happening out here. Uh, okay, yeah. So she was saying that, yeah, that's the second marriage. Yep. Okay, cool, cool. Zan says, good talk, everyone. And yes, Asia, there are blessings in obedience. There definitely are. They are. And Tiffany says, speak, Asia, because our next generation needs godly examples. Yes, they do, for sure. Zan says, girl, you better preach, Asia. Be an example and be proud of it. God is going to bless you. He will take care of you, and He definitely is. And one last comment from Zan says, testing is real. Boundaries, Jay. Yes, always. Like, you got to be mindful of those boundaries for sure. For sure. Don't push the limits. What's your take on it, Tatiana? What would you encourage to somebody out there who they've been walking the weight walk, and with this recent news, they're kind of shaky and they're trying to find a foundation?
Yeah, I think Asia touched on it earlier. It's like, when you see other people go through stuff, don't let that discourage you from your walk because you have your own reasons why you're doing it. Like, people get into car accidents all the time, like every day. So is that going to stop you from driving? For some people, yes. But you have somewhere to go. You have places to go. So you're going to have to go get back in that car and face that fear, face that anxiety, face those what ifs. Like, what if I don't get married? What if, it doesn't come to that, to if I don't meet a spouse like next year, all those what ifs, face that, that anxiety and bring it to God, because that's just the enemy trying to attack you anyway. Remember, the enemy is attacking marriage and singles too. He doesn't like marriage. So what's he going to do? Come from the individuals who want to get married, right? And like, it doesn't matter if you want to be married or not. He going to come for you. But God is on your side, and He's going to want to meet you where you're located. So just like, give those anxieties to the Lord.
Nah, that's real. That's real. Nia, what's your take?
One of my big things that I've been focused on recently is most of my friends are married, but putting more time into my single friendships, because you need somebody that can relate to what you are going through. And sometimes, it's cool to pass the scriptures back and forth and to send the sermons to each other. But sometimes you just need a vent and be like, girl, I'm having a hard time today. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is tough. This is hard. Like, what you doing? How are you getting through? Like, you just need people that can be really real with you about the struggles that we go through. Because sometimes just a vent session, I'm like, all right, I feel better. Like, somebody understands. I can press on another day. And so I know we look for our examples and our role models, and we want to be married, so ourselves around people who, have already achieved that. But don't forget to spend some time with your single friends too. Like, we need that camaraderie and we need each other.
It's good.
Most definitely. And you bring up a good point, because there are those struggles that people encounter that sometimes they are prone to keep to themselves. I'm curious, Asia, what would you say are some of those struggles that people may be holding close that they need to actually go and share with their friends, their girlfriends or their circle of people who are also waiting along with them?
That they want to have sex and it gets hard when the moments come. I mean, I've literally had my girlfriends, and I'm so happy. Nia, you've been hitting it on. Look, girl, I'm like, I want to be friends with her because she been hitting on those all night. But absolutely, you need those single friends, those ones that's walking it out with you, those ones that you can sit up and talk to about this type of stuff all the time, and they not getting irritated because y'all both in the same boat. So I definitely think that, back to my point, that a lot of my friends have texted me like, girl, it's hard, like I want to have sex, like I'm in the moment, like, and their body is, having withdrawals, like, let's be real, like it gets real. So just being able to text your friend and say that, and she like, and I can respond back, be like, well, first of all, where you at? Because we gotta, first of all, where you at? You ain't in nobody's house. Like, are you in
Right.
like, let me get the location first, so that way we can try to stop some before it get too ahead. And they tell me where they at, and I call them like, okay, sis, what triggered this? Like, you was doing good all week. Like, what triggered this? And it's like, well, girl, I did just watch such and such, or I did, he did just post. So we can get to what happened and we can kind of just talk it out. So just be real. That's what I would say with your friends, especially if these are your girlfriends, your accountability. If it's getting hot, if you feeling hot and heavy, let your friend know, and don't try to over spiritualize it. Say exactly what it is. Like, I'm feeling real lustful. And I've had to do that before with my friends. Like, hey, I'm feeling a little lustful, y'all. Like, I don't look, it's getting hard. Just be honest. Transparency. That's where the healing take place there, in your honesty.
That is real talk. Yo, we got some comments I'm gonna go to really quickly. So Katiwe says, yes, Asia. I tried abandoning him once and said, Lord, I'm gonna do what I want. He laughed and said, no, you're not. And I was blocked. After that, I said, I'm yours, Lord. Forget these men. Tanisha says, this is a good couple to follow too, who were both virgins and waited. Oh, who are they? I think I may have missed the tweet. If you can drop that information again, let us know, Tanisha. Tiffany says, ladies, how do we combat the influence of peer pressure and social media on young teens? That's a good question. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Zan says, I didn't think about the weight. The first thing I thought about was another marriage down the drain. The devil is busy. Them waiting was nothing to do with the marriage. There is testing in every season. Yeah, I'm so glad that somebody
Thank
finally said it,
you.
because people are trying to find this correlation between the quote unquote, I don't really want to say the failure of their marriage, because the marriage isn't over yet, but
Right.
this fracture, I think that's a good word. This fracture in their marriage versus the weight, like they're two different things. Like the
Good.
weight is like before, like I mean, like they didn't already made it through the weight. Like I
Wait,
mean, wouldn't that
how?
mean that the weight worked?
Yeah, people were
Like if
reaching
you
with that
waited and
one.
you made it past the finish line, like I think that means it worked, not that it didn't. But I
Right.
don't know. That's just the way my logical brain looks at things. But
I agree
who
with you,
knows?
Jay.
Okay, so Katiwe says, I agree, Nia. That's a good point. Oh, yeah, y'all know. Y'all stay been dropping gems. So Tanisha says, I've been there, tried to do my own thing and did not go through it. Praise God. Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
keeper.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people been on the cliff. A lot of people been on the cliff. So Katiwe says, yes, Tatiana, he covered me. I feel really blessed as he loved me that much and brought me back into his will. Yeah. Tanisha, my bad. I read that too quickly. So Tiffany says, we are building a single circle that supports and uplifts each other at every stage of the struggle. That's right.
That's
That's
good.
exactly what we are doing in our community. Like I was saying, bringing together these women, and we are going to be diving into how to navigate these situations, not just when it comes to waiting, but being able to better understand men, their desires, so that we can also talk through these things, and as well as teaching women how to properly interact, building up the right boundaries and the right guardrails when you are in interaction or relationship with men. So yeah, that's definitely one of our aims, and I think it's definitely going to be a blessing to the ladies who become a part of the community. I'm going back to this question right here. Tatiana, what's your take? Tiffany wants to know, how do we combat the influence of peer pressure and social media on young teens?
I work in teen ministry at my church, so this
Okay.
this hits heavy. We're new, so we're still trying to navigate how to bring up this topic actually, but we definitely want to just like be open and honest and available. I think listening to the teens is a huge point because they have stuff to say. They go through a lot nowadays, especially with social media and the internet. They get a lot of pressure and stress from all angles. So I think just being being available to listen to them is so important, whatever that looks like for them. Maybe they're a little more quiet, they need that one-on-one time, or maybe they're someone who's more open in a group setting. Like, try to figure out what's the best way to get that student or that teen in your life to talk to you, so you can hear what they're going through, and then figure out how you're going to approach, talking to them about those peer pressures, and how you could pour into them when in regards to giving them that option, that waiting is an option. Because I think that's another thing. I think we need to let them know that everything they're seeing out here is telling them to do one thing, but we need to show them and be that example of what it means to wait. You can tell them your own story, like what you've been through. You're not perfect. And sometimes people don't receive from people that they deem as perfect. But if you're transparent and share your story, they'd be more willing to take on what you're doing, and like, okay, so you look like you're getting your life together. You made your mistakes. Okay, maybe I can listen to you. I can hear from you. So just give them a chance.
Nah, that's a good point. Really good point. And the one thing that I've learned in my interactions with younger people, especially teenagers, is I don't get on my soapbox. I don't preach. I don't bring messages. I don't come to bring a word. What I do is I ask questions, I listen, and I'll allow them to speak. Like, for me, that's the way that I navigate those interactions that I have with teenagers. It's not for me to impart my great wisdom on them. Like, nah, I want to understand what their experience is like. Oftentimes, it's very different from what I've experienced when I was their age. So, just being able to hear some of the things that they're going through and just giving them that listening ear, I found it works. They come to me when they do have questions, as opposed to me trying to impart this information on them. They actually
Mhm.
bring the request to me. So I think that that works a lot better, and it lets them know that you're not judging them. They can share things with you without you feeling like, or without them feeling like you're going to drag them or judge them or say that they're not really walking with God or things of that nature. So that's been my experience.
That's
What about
good.
you, Nia?
A couple things, because this is the work that I do through my
Yeah.
nonprofit as well. So one major thing is the exposure of it all. Like, whenever I have events, I try to make sure that I have speakers come in that are young, that are vibrant, that sing for God, because they have one vision of what being saved looks like, and it doesn't look fun, and it
Mhm.
looks like a bunch of rules, and man, I can't do anything. And so being able to see that I can be saved, I can be trendy, I can be fashionable, I can
Mhm.
have fun,
Yes.
like, they need to exposed to what it really looks like, so that they're not just in a bunch of rules. And then the other thing is making sure to prioritize relationship with God. I mean, I've been saved since I was a child, and I'm just so thankful that I was introduced to that concept early. So it wasn't just rules and religion for me. I actually was able to talk to God and presenting, our belief system in a way that it is relatable. Like, hey, God wants to talk to you. He wants to hear what you have to say. He cares about how you feel. He cares about what's going on in your life, and so we have to present our faith to them in a way that they can relate to, and in a way that, meets them where they are as teenagers. They're not adults. They're not old. You know what I mean? They still want to be out here doing stuff and looking good. And of course, we want to present what we know to be right and righteous, but also in a
Mhm.
way that, they can relate.
That's good. That's good. And Asia, what gems would you drop on them?
I agree. I definitely think I agree with what everyone said on here. Definitely with the listening and just not setting up a bunch of rules and letting them know, like, y'all might think I'm old, but I jam too. You gotta let them know, like, I have a good time too. So you tell them the things that you do, not necessarily everything you don't do. So you tell them, like, hey, well, we own businesses. Me and my girls, we travel. I have platonic, different sex relationships, male and female. We don't have to be separate. It's okay to have a good male friend and enjoy each other's company. Like, teaching them those things, I think, is important. And again, listening to what they got to say, because these kids are under way more pressure than what we were under. I thought I was under a lot of pressure when I was growing up, but these kids is different. Like, so understanding their background, understanding what's going on in their household, and then being able to respond to them and just guide them and just love on them, affirm them, speak life into them, let them know, even if you do mess up, I'm still here. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So come and talk to me about it, because I get it. So I think
Mhm.
it's just that overpour of love to them and that trust. and respecting them, because I think that that's where the disconnect is. A lot of elders sometimes, or older people in the church, don't respect young people, and I think that that's a big disconnect. Like, these are still human beings,
Mm-hmm.
despite if the cultures are different, the generations are different. You would have never said this, you would have never wore this. I get all of that, but these are still human beings, and we got to respect them, because if
Yeah.
we don't respect them, they're not going to open up to us. They're not going to be more vulnerable. They are going to be more closed off. So that's my opinion.
So
Nah,
good.
that's real talk.
Thank you,
That's real talk
everybody.
right there. And I think another thing that's important, especially when we look at the whole peer pressure and social media thing, is affirming who they are. Like, one
Yeah.
of the things that I notice is that often many of us, we don't go on our own self-discovery journey and seeing the value in ourselves until we get later in life. And this is one of the things that when I do have the opportunity to guide the young people that I talk to in a certain direction, I point them in the direction of seeing the value in themselves. Because when you understand that you're valuable, that you can make the decisions in your own life, you don't have to follow the crowd, that allows a person to be equipped to deal with the peer pressure. That allows a person to be able to properly place social media in the context that it needs to be placed in. When you value yourself and you know the direction that you're headed in life, when you know that you had a purpose. When I was a teenager, I didn't know I had no purpose in life. I didn't discover it until almost like my mid 20s that I had a purpose in life. So when you can understand and discover those things at a young age, I think it does a really great job of helping a person navigate the peer pressure and also social media. So that's just one little thing that I wanted to add. And it looked like we have a few comments over here. So Tiffany says, "Thank you, ladies and Jay, for this helpful information to help the teens in my community. I appreciate it so much." Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Danielle says, "Great show, everybody." Yes, yes, it has been a good show. And Shatara says, "Very good point." Yes, the ladies have been dropping so many gems. And we had one last question before we wrap tonight. Tiffany says, "How do you encourage them to share with their parents when they are being shown sexual material forbidden by their parents? Their friends are pushing ideas that are uncomfortable, that they're uncomfortable with." Oh yeah, this right here is a mountain. Any one of you ladies want to tackle this one? Nobody jumping at that. Nobody's jumping at that one.
How do you encourage them to share with their parents when they're being shown, and you say they're uncomfortable with it? Honestly, I think that you can only do what most parents do. You tell their child, like, hey, if you're ever in any uncomfortable situations, if anybody's ever, forcing you to do something, showing you something that you don't want to see, you can always come talk to me about it. I think just reassuring them that you are a safe space. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's really all you can do, especially with you saying the ideas that they are uncomfortable with, because in most cases it can be the child being curious, like myself, you being curious and you going to look for stuff. But if they're uncomfortable, you just gotta just constantly reassure them that there's nothing that you can't come tell me. This is a safe space. This is an open space, and whatever it is, we gonna get through it and we gonna talk it out.
Oh yeah, Katrina says absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good right there. So before we wrap up, Tatiana, I want to hand it over to you. Definitely let all of our viewers and everybody watching know about your business and the amazing frames that you offer. So definitely let the people know.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Jay, for that plug. So I am selling fabric cover photo frames, also artwork. I have an Etsy shop, and we've been really doing well this year. Basically sold out most of our Christmas frames, but looking forward to what's happening next year. So if you're looking to add something new to your home decor, your office decor, if you're going back to the office, or if you were looking for a unique gift, we definitely have plenty of options for you at Notes by Tatiana. Again, it's on Etsy. Please support your local and small owned businesses because we make some unique stuff. And I've been blessed to be able to sell these products and these frames all over the country and even some places I've never been to yet. I know it's hard to believe, Jay, don't you? But they're going to places I never thought I would go. So it's a blessing to be part of that experience. So thank you.
Most definitely. And I am about to drop the link in the chat for you guys to go and show Tatiana some love. Definitely. Yo, this is a perfect gift idea, yo. And as y'all saw, all of those 5-star reviews. So, the people are definitely happy with the product that Tatiana is delivering. And I love it, man. All of you ladies are doing phenomenal things. And this has been such an honor, such a joy speaking with each and every last one of y'all today. Before we wrap up, I'm going to just go to each of you to see if you have any last questions or last closing words that you want to leave our viewers with. Viewers, also, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. Definitely let us know. And right now, let's go with my girl Nia. Any questions or any last or closing words you want to leave our audience with tonight?
I don't have any questions. I just want people to be encouraged to continue to walk their walk, whatever your journey is. Just make sure that you focus on you and your journey, the race that God has set before you, and keep your eyes on the prize. I believe 2022 is going to be an amazing year. And start now. Start now with what you know you need to do, what you know you need to be working on, and stay prayerful. I believe that the wait is worth it, and we're gonna do it right,
Yes.
and we're gonna see God's glory in it.
Most definitely. I love that. Thank you again for joining us, Nia. We really, really appreciate having you on. Asia, coming over to you, making your second appearance, or no, third appearance on the live show.
Oh my
Any
God.
last questions or gems you want to drop on our audience today?
I'm gonna piggyback off my girl Nia because again, she been dropping so many
Dropping that
gems.
mic,
I'm
man.
just bite off her a little bit and just encourage everybody to stay encouraged on the wait and always remember again your why and that it's so much bigger than you. It's bigger than
Mhm.
those 20-30 minutes of satisfaction. It's bigger than it's just so much bigger. And if you can continue to wait, keep doing it and remember, like Nia talked about, and I think Tatiana as well, like you're not doing it to be rewarded a spouse. If you think that you're waiting so God can bless you with a spouse, you missed the whole point of it. You missed it. And I want you not to miss it. I want you to catch it and do it for God and honor him and give your body as a
Yes.
living and holy sacrifice, as
Hallelujah.
12 and 1 talk about. So that's all I got for y'all.
Yes.
Gems. I love it. Always so many gems. Tatiana, what about you? Any last questions or closing words you want to leave the audience with today?
I'm so grateful that we had a chance to talk about this in so many different angles because this topic of Devon and Megan splitting up has been kind of heavy. And like we said in the beginning, so many people have come at it from negative angles. So I'm just grateful that we had a great chat tonight. We had great panelists tonight to talk about this in a more holistic way, a way that we can get encouragement from. So I'm really appreciative of that. So, like we said earlier, guys, if someone falls short of maybe your expectations for how their relationship could be, take the lessons from that, even when it doesn't work out, because there's always some context that we can apply to their situation. Like we said earlier, we don't know the reasons why it fell apart, but again, they had survived 9 years of marriage. Hopefully, those were good years. And like Jay said, he's holding out hope that reconciliation can happen. So you gotta just trust God, and again, take what you can from these lessons, even if it doesn't work out the way you thought it would.
Nah, that's beautiful. And ladies, it's always an honor speaking to each of you. Such a pleasure speaking to all three of you tonight. Chat, as always, y'all bring it. And I knew y'all wouldn't disappoint us tonight. It was such a joy diving into this topic. Once again, we're not here to drag anybody. We want to encourage. We also are hoping and praying that things can be worked out between Devon and Megan. And, let God's will be done ultimately.
Yeah.
So keep them in y'all prayers and definitely make sure you guys tune in next Tuesday. We'll be diving into another great topic, have another set of amazing panelists and guests joining us. But with that being said, you guys have a very blessed week, and we definitely can't wait to catch you guys next Tuesday. So until then, y'all stay blessed.
See you next year.
That's right. It will